Today we're going to look at the region known as the New England Colonies. The New England Colonies were grouped together because of their climate and economic activities. The weather was much colder than in the Southern Colonies, so the growing season was much shorter. The soil was very rocky and could not support growing cash crops. If you look at the picture on the left, you see a typical New England winter. And you look at the picture on the right, you see what they're talking about when they talk about rocky soil. Because of the climate, the economy of New England focused more on industries like lumber, fishing and whaling, and even shipbuilding. They also grew staple crops, which is food, like corn, squash, and pumpkins. So again, the economy of the North revolved around lumber, fishing and whaling, and shipbuilding. And they also grew staple crops like corn, squash, and pumpkins. The colony of Massachusetts was founded by John Winthrop in 1630. It was formed when the colonies of Plymouth, which was founded in 1620, and Massachusetts Bay Colony merged together. Boston became an important port city in this colony. If you look at this illustration, you see this is where the port city of Boston is located. It was started by Puritans. This group came from England because they wanted to purify, which means to clean up, the Church of England. Because of this desire, they were persecuted, which means punished, for their beliefs. Their colony was founded so they could practice their own religious beliefs. The word purify means to clean up. An example of this is purified water. Purified water is very clean because of a filter process it goes through, and that's what the Puritans wanted to do with the Church of England. They wanted to purify it. They wanted to clean it up. In the 1630s and 1640s, Puritans came from England by the thousands. This was called the Great Migration. Puritans also settled in Rhode Island and Connecticut. This was done to escape religious persecution. Now, if you look at this illustration, you can see Puritans came from England and settled here. 20,000 of them came to New England in the Great Migration. Massachusetts would be a city upon a hill, which would symbolize goodness and virtuous living for all the world to see. The word virtuous means moral, and moral means living your life the way it's supposed to be led, which is doing the right thing day in and day out. And that's what the Puritans believed in. New Hampshire became a royal colony in 1679. If you look at this picture, this is the colony of New Hampshire. In 1636, Rhode Island was founded by Roger Williams. He used land he bought from the Indians to establish the colony. Now here you see a picture of Roger Williams buying land from the Indians, which at that time was very unusual for founders of colonies to actually purchase the land from the Indians. And if you look at the picture on the right, you see the colony of Rhode Island. Williams originally lived in Massachusetts. He called for religious tolerance there, but the Puritans did not practice it. He thought the Puritan church had too much power. Williams also called for separation of church and state. Now, what the concept of separation of church and state means is that the government and the church leaders are separate, just like you see in this picture here. You see a picture of the United States Capitol, and then you see a picture of a church, and they are divided. He was ordered to leave by Puritan leaders. He left and then founded the colony of Rhode Island. This colony practiced religious toleration. Protestants, Jews, and Catholics were all allowed in this colony. So again, when you talk about the concept of religious tolerance, it means all religions are welcome. A person who helped Roger Williams with Rhode Island was Anne Hutchinson. She was banished from Massachusetts for explaining Bible teachings and telling Puritan leaders that God spoke directly to her. Now in this picture you see Hutchinson being banished, and the word banished means being removed, never to return again. The last of the New England colonies was Connecticut. It was founded by Thomas Hooker in 1636. And if you look at this outline right here, you see the colony of Connecticut. In 1639, an important event took place in the colony. The Fundamental Orders of Connecticut were written. This was the first written constitution in the colonies. A constitution is a plan of government. Even today, Connecticut takes pride in this fact. You look at its state license plates, you see Constitution State. The Fundamental Orders of Connecticut made the colony more democratic because it allowed non-church members to vote. To review, the New England colonies were made up of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Most of these colonies were founded because of religious reasons. Because of its cold climate, the New England colonies became dependent on various industries to support their economies.